Alright, guys, so welcome back to Emoji Economics YouTube channel. Today we'll continue our discussion on the ISLM model. So, we are talking about the general equilibrium. So, where the goods market, the labor market, and the asset market are in equilibrium at the same time. Okay, equilibrium anyway, it's going to be at the same time. Alright, so for asset market, for money markets, might also be called the asset market or the financial market. Okay, whatever it is, just know it is referring to the same thing. All assets have actually been kind of Mm, let me say that. So let's just leave it like that. Okay, if you've been watching our videos on the ISLM model up to this particular point, okay, you may have or you likely have realized that I've been kind of making reference to the labor market. And the thing is that I've been saying that um, the classes on the labor market, classes on the labor market, but I've not really done any class on the labor market. Like at the time, okay, that I was recording the ISLM classes, maybe I wanted to record the labor market class and I didn't. Although I had done something on, we had done something on why the labor supply curve is, the shape. It's why does it have the shape it has, But I don't think I've talked about an equilibrium in that market. So this class, okay, eventually we'll start talking about the equilibrium in the labor market. Now, the labor market is just a market where labor services are bought and sold. So it's just like that. Okay, so where a lot of people come to offer their services, and a lot of firms, a lot of companies, start to buy the services that these people are offering. Okay, so we don't have to say too much about it. All right, so now on the board we have a labor market that's in equilibrium or that's at equilibrium. The labor supply curve is kind of bending inwards. I think that's inwards or something like that. So it's kind of, it's starting from the right and bending, towards the top. So just trying to tell us the income as the effect of income and substitution effect. It's just on the labor, supply curve. So initially, as the wage, increases, the substitution effect is dominant, which makes laborers to supply more labor hours. But it gets a particular point where they're kind of well there, okay, already. So, and that's the laborers get to a kind of level. Let me say workers now. Workers get to a kind of level, where they are kind of well there. Maybe they are already reaching managerial positions in their various, companies and organizations. So, and if they decide to kind of, raise the real wage in order to induce them to work more, they might eventually work less. All right. So at that point, so when labor has supplied work hours up to a high level. So further increments in wages and salaries, right, or in compensation of employees generally will then begin to lead into a fall in the supply of labor hours. So that means at the top, all right, the income effect of an increase in real wage, okay, is dominant than the substitution effect. Okay, so there is a whole class devoted to explaining that. So it shouldn't be a problem. You can attend it if you want to. Okay, and then we have labor demand curve, which is downward sloping. Just trying to tell us that okay, when the real wage increases, um, the supply of the demand for labor, reduces. The demand for labor by organization reduces. That shouldn't be a big deal anyway. So W represents real wage, L is labor. Then this equilibrium, at equilibrium we have something like a bar L. So that's trying to tell us that bar L is full employment. Okay, so which is just telling us that this market is clearing. Okay, everyone that wants to supply um, his services, okay, his labor services, is able to find a job that just fits him or her. All right. So that means the market is clearing. The what do you call it now? The labor market is is clearing. So where all laborers are able to get jobs, to do. Okay, and there is no unemployment. Okay, that is unemployment is zero. So we have a full employment. That's just what it is called. So it's a full employment level. Okay, what else do I have to say? So, what I've just explained now is just the classical approach, or I'm talking about we have two schools of thought in economics that are kind of dominant and they are kind of fighting each other every now and then. So, we have the classical economics school of thought, and then we also have the Keynesian economics school of thought. So, it's the classical economics that is saying that. Under whatever condition the labor market continues to clear. All right, so if the wage should increase, you understand, the labor market will still eventually clear and something like that. Okay, if this wage should increase to um, okay, then let me put it here. So if there's something that happens to labor demand, maybe labor demand happens to increase or decrease, something happens to shift the labor demand curve. All right. So the classical economics school of thought is saying that equilibrium will be reached very quickly, and the market will clear itself again, and nobody's going to be unemployed. So that means they are insinuating that wages are very flexible. So wherever there is an increase in demand, or maybe an increase in demand for labor, or an increase, not necessarily increase, a change in the demand for labor, a change in the supply of labor, okay, the market clears again. So wages adjust to make the market clear. All right. So for example, let's say we have something like this. So this let me just assume an upward sloping linear, an upward sloping linear labor supply curve. So this labor supply, this labor demand. So initially we have this, all right, equilibrium wage, and then we have the full, the full employment. Okay, so the next thing is something happens that increases labor. Um, Something happens that reduces labor supply. Okay, so the classical economics school of thought is saying that this is a new equilibrium. This is a new equilibrium. Okay, so that means we have this, right? At this, there's going to be a higher wage as a result of the decrease in labor supply, and as that higher wage, okay, or higher real wage, okay, everybody that wants to work is able to find job at this higher wage. So like, it's just so flexible. Wages just adjust like that. But there is another school of thought, which is the one that I have there, talking about the Nigerian Economy school of thought. So the school of thought is saying that it's not always like that. Okay, for example, as you know, as this labor supply reduced, to this point, okay, so it is saying that there is still a gap. Actually, there's still a gap here. So there's still a gap. So and that gap represents the number of people who wants to offer their services at this particular wage but are unable to do so. Okay, so which means that even at this new wage there is unemployment. Okay, so that's what Keynesian economics is trying to say. So although here I think I use a lower demand, okay, for labor. All right, if you look at it, according to the classical economics, so here would be the new here will be the new wage, this place. Okay, will be the new wage, so which is a lower wage because the demand for labor has reduced, and then this would be the market clearing. This will be the full employment, employment. The Keynesian view holds that okay, at this wage actually, this should be kind of the labor demand, something like this should be labor demand. So like there is a gap. Okay, the markets, the investors, okay, or let me say companies want more laborers at that wage than what they are getting. You understand? So what they are just trying to say is that it takes time for the market to fully adjust, to a new equilibrium. It's not that the market is not going to adjust eventually, but what Keynesian economists are trying to say is that it takes time because real wages are sticky. Okay, wages and prices are sticky, so they don't move that quickly. You understand? So that's just the story about that. Now, yeah, I have factors that we adjust the labor market equilibrium. Mind you, where I'm actually going to in this video is the FE line, how to derive the full employment, line. Okay, the FE line. So which is going to be the third part, the third and the final part. Don't let me say final. I don't know what um, macroeconomic theory might become in the future. Okay, so the third part of our general equilibrium. Okay, so factors that readjust the labor market equilibrium. Any factor that shifts the labor demand curve or shifts the labor supply curve is something that's going to readjust the equilibrium. Okay, okay. Here, number one, we have supply shocks. Okay, now what is a shock actually? So a shock is something that is unexpected. Okay, so when we say supply shock, so we are talking about a phenomenon that is unexpected, that it's unexpected and it affects the supply side of an economy, or it affects the supply of goods and services. I'm talking about aggregate supply of goods and services here. So when we say supply shock, like it might be beneficial, it might be harmful, like it might be a beneficial supply shock or an adverse supply shock. So here under supply shock, we have famine, drought, and discovery of new natural resources. So now let's talk about farming, for example. Let's say something happens, or let me just talk about, yeah, let's just say farming, something happens, and the agricultural products are the agricultural sector of the economy is not able to produce as much as it used to produce. That means in the agricultural sector, output has reduced. Now a reduction in which is sudden because it's kind of unexpected. The farmers were not they were not expecting farming, so it just happened. Something just happened. You understand? And you just saw that okay, there's there's something, or let me say droughts, for example. So there's no rainfall. Like what's going on? And it's kind of sudden. So everywhere, no rain, and it's something like that. Okay, so and at the end of the day, it affects the level of economic output. So it's going to reduce. Other things being equal. So it's going to reduce. Agricultural sectors output, and then that would lead to a reduction in labor demand. You understand? That is not caused as a result of changes in real wages. Okay, so in that instance, we are going to be having, let's say this is our labor supply curve, labor demand curve, initial equilibrium, okay, full employment, employment. So a decrease in the labor demand curve. We then have something like this. This is going to be the real wage, the second real wage, and this is going to be like this W2 rather. Okay, so there's going to be a fall in the equilibrium real wage, and then what happens to the equilibrium in the labor market? So you then see that this guy falls. Okay, so at equilibrium we have a lower real wage, and then we have a lower level of full employment. Okay, then so that's talking about supply. So if it were something like the discovery of new natural resource now, so that means okay, there might be a new sector in your economy or maybe a new subsector. So suddenly you discover that you have oil, crude oil in a lot of commercial quantity. Okay, that which is great, right? So which means there is something new that this economy can engage itself in, and it's going to be needing laborers, in that sector to make the production of that commodity to happen or continue to happen. Okay, so in that case, the labor demand is going to increase, because now we are talking about the economy. We are talking about this is aggregate. You understand? So we are talking about what happens in general. Okay, so labor demand in general is going to increase. All right. The when I'm talking about labor demand in general, it might actually be labor demand in a sector that increases, but then the increase in that, in addition to the other amounts of labor that we have in the economy before, give or take, then it increases the whole value of the number of employed persons in the economy. So in that case, you have your labor demand for shifting outwards. So that's just it. Now we also have demand shocks, so which are things that affect the quality of goods and services that people demand in an economy, things that are unexpected, they just kind of happen, and they might be adverse, just like the supply shock or something like that. So here we have war, for example. Look at this is 2023, this is April 26th or something like that. I think today is April 26th or something. All right. So look at the war going on between Russia and Ukraine. So people have to be fleeing, Ukraine and so on and so forth. So in that case, obviously two things are happening. The demand businesses are not really functioning, so that means their demand for labor reduces. So that's like there's a supply shock which is leading to a decrease in labor demand. And there's also another part of the story, which is the fact that people are fleeing Ukraine because of the war that is happening. All right, and if you have an economy where people are running away, so that means that's also going to affect your labor supply. You understand? So in Ukraine, for example, as a result of the war, you have the labor demand reducing, and you also have the labor supply reducing. So it now depends on the strength of the two of them, which is more. Okay, that will then finally determine what the equilibrium is going to be. But something is kind of certain in an economy where people are running away, and then people are running away, and firms are not looking for people as much as they used to. So we kind of expect that the equilibrium level of employment should kind of fall, right? People are running away and firms are not really looking for people. So what happens to the equilibrium real wages? It then depends on, okay, which is higher than the other. So the equilibrium real wage is kind of ambiguous. It's not so clear. Okay, but we have the clear picture of what is happening. Then you have migration. Okay, you have countries like UK, Canada, as at this particular period of time, opening up the shores of the economy to people from other countries. Okay, we want doctors, we want teachers, and so on and so forth. So, like, you have people migrating, immigrating, okay, into UK and US and whatever. So, in as much as those people are people that are of working age, so there is an increase in labor force, and if they can get jobs, you understand? So that means it increases the number of employed persons in the economy. And here we say that labor demand and labor supply are functions of real wages, but there's something that is making labor supply to increase, okay, which is immigration. So that's not something that's not a variable within what we are considering. Yes, it's going to lead to a shift of the labor supply curve. So that's just that. Now, immigration has the opposite effect. So we have a government policy, for example, the higher minimum wage legislation. What you have here is real wage. It's not really minimum wage, right? So what you have, so there are like two variables. Okay, so this is real wage, and there's something else that's minimum wage, which is the minimum amount, okay, that is legally approved by a country to pay a worker. You understand? So in 2019, for example, in Nigeria, the minimum wage was increased from 18,000 naira to 30,000 naira. So what the way the minimum wage works, or the way I understand it to work, is that it's not just the minimum that increases. Other stratas of employment too, their income is going to reflect the increase in the minimum wage. So let's say what the worker that was doing before was what 30,000 naira in a month, and that was when the minimum wage was 18,000 naira. So now that the minimum wage has been increased to 30,000 naira, that means I'm no longer going to be collecting 30,000 naira. Of course. So that means the minimum wage also has to reflect in their income that I am also receiving. Okay, and so on and so forth. You understand? So that's an increase in minimum wage is an increase in the cost of production of businesses. So which means that they are going to reduce the amount of labor that they demand for other things being equal. So that's going to lead to a reduction in the demand for labor. I think that labor is going to be shifting inwards. It's shifting towards the right. All right, shifting towards the right. If I'm not wrong. So that's just what I want to say about this particular aspect of the topic. I've spoken about that. So now, how do we derive the FE line? So for us to be able to derive the FE, this is the full employment line. So recall these normal, what do you call it? This normal output function. National output is a function of productivity, function of capital, and labor here. So as full employment, so that means when the labor market is clearing, right? So we are not just going to be having L here, so we are going to be having the bar L, which is telling us that the labor market is at full employment. So the output that is being produced when the labor market is at full employment, other things being equal, is called the full employment output. So that which is what is here. Right. So we have this whenever there is a change in the labor market that affects at the level of full employment. So that means there's going to be a change also in the amount of the full employment output. All right. Now, if you recall, how did we derive the ISLM model? So we had interest rates on the vertical axis. Okay, so we kind of have interest. Okay, what am I even saying? Kind of have interest rate here. Interest rate is here, and then we have output in this place. So for the IS curve, for example, so every point on the IS curve is the point where the goods market is at equilibrium. So here now, every point on the FE curve, FE line is going to be a point where the labor market is at equilibrium. So how did we derive those stuffs that time? So let's say we have initial. Okay, this is the first interest rate, and then this is the first output level. Okay, on the national level. All right, so an increase in interest, that was how we derived the other ones too. So an increase in interest rate, so which one does it affect? you would see that an increase in interest rate does not directly affect labor demand, and an increase in interest rate does not directly affect labor supply as well. So that means labor demand, neither labor demand nor labor supply is directly responsive to an increase in interest rates. No, interest rates affect other things that then affects the demand for labor indirectly and something like that. But here, what is the impact of an increase in interest rate on labor demand and labor supply? So directly, you understand. So you don't say that you demand less of laborers because interest rate has risen somewhere or something like that. So directly, there is no effect because if this is your labor demand and your labor supply curve, it does not affect labor supply, it does not affect labor demand. So that means if you increase your interest rate, you just do that for your own sake, right? There is no change in the level, there is no change in the equilibrium that is happening. There is no change in the equilibrium that is happening because none of the curves are shifting. So that's why when you plot your FE line, it is unresponsive to changes in interest rates, unresponsive to the case in interest rates, so which is FE. Now that we have successfully derived the FE curve, so what are the factors that can shift the FE curve? So the factors what can shift the FE curve is basically whatever it is that can shift either of the labor demand curve or the labor supply curve or both. So whatever changes the labor market equilibrium is going to shift the FE curve. So let's say here we're analyzing. Let's talk about no, let me use the war. So let's talk about um, the migration, for example. Let's say immigration into Nigeria. Okay, should I use immigration? Let me use immigration because that's what is more realistic. Our tech bros, our doctors, our teachers, our nurses, they are all going to the UK now. So there is a lot of brain drain going on. So and what that means is that there is a reduction in the demand for labor. And I think no, not demand rather. There is a reduction in the supply of labor. So like I said, let's just make things kind of simple. So this is labor demand. This is labor supply. This was the full employment. Employment. So a reduction in labor supply. So this was the first real wage. The reduction in labor supply is going to be something like this, something like this. Okay, as a result of immigration out of the Nigerian economy, or as a result of the brain drain out of the Nigerian economy, so we have uh, this now. So we can, so this is going to be the new equilibrium, the new equilibrium. So what that is saying is that we have an equilibrium, output in the labor market that is lesser than the equilibrium that has been exhibited by the FE line. Okay, so obviously the labor here is going to, the labor here has reduced. So let me say the labor here has reduced, so output is going to fall. So we are having something like this. So it was not interest rate that led to any change or something else. So output is equilibrium, output is gonna fall too. So that's an example of what can shift the FE line. So I don't know if you've been reading through your textbooks and you just see that FE line is just a vertical line, like nothing, it's not changing, nothing is happening. So what is happening to this guy? Why is it not changing? So I just explained it that it is unresponsive to changes in the interest rate. So whatever can shift it is just going to be something that happened in the labor market. Whatever is able to shift either or both of those curves. So that's it. In the next class, we'll be talking about neutrality of money. Okay, so I'm going to try to use the uh, full the general equilibrium to explain what happens. Why do we say money is neutral, at least in the short run? So I'm going to use general equilibrium to analyze it. So, and I'm also going to use the ADAS model as well. So because you can use either ISLM model or the ADAS model to explain neutrality of money. So depending on whatever is required of you, an examination or maybe a given circumstance. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any questions for us, the comment section is there for you. If there's any further need for clarification, okay, you know where to meet us. And if you're one of our students watching this video at this particular period of time, then that's cool. So expect to be tested on it as usual, and we're going to meet later. Thank you for watching once again. Bye.